just listening back to that bit of Fury Wilder 3 there from the T-Mobile in October 2021. That was just unreal. I'm not sure I'll ever get to commentate on a better fight than that, because it really did have absolutely everything. So much admiration for Wilder coming away from that. It was strange because Fury was so good again, George, and he put the rivalry to bed really that night. But the way that Wilder, off the back of being destroyed by Fury in the second fight, just came out seemingly not really any different and just took it to him all the way through. And he did look absolutely out on his feet at points, but he was still dangerous. Even before he got stopped, I think towards the end of the 9th or the 10th, he caught Fury with something that made him think, okay, this is still, you are still a live dog in this fight. I mean, it just absolutely took my breath away, that one. It really did.
Yeah, no, it was an amazing fight. You know, trilogies, you never know what's the third fight going to be like, and especially I was really disappointed with Wilder in the second fight. I think he got so many things wrong, just came in way too light, wasn't present. And Fury, to his credit, under Sugar Hill, boxed totally different, boxed with that aggressive mindset of a 6'9", 19.5 stone heavyweight champion, and you're like, oh my, now this guy is unstoppable. But Wilder, to his credit, you know, he went back to the drawing board with his trainer Malik Scott. They came up with a game plan, and he almost pulled it off. You know, he was so much better, and you could see just how much it meant to him to avenge that loss against Fury, to win his belt back. And yeah, you know, he gets up off the floor, he drops Fury. It was sensational to watch. He run out of steam, and Fury gets the win. But I personally think outboxed Fury in periods of that fight, which, you know, for a lot of people that they are left scratching their head, like, no one can outbox Fury. It's like he did. He had great variety with the jab, head and body, trying to detonate that right hand, and was certainly really dangerous. You know, but as Fury, to his credit, wins that third fight, has to then put the rivalry to bed. And I don't think he's been comfortable since, Andy. Do you know what I mean? I don't, you know, he's had the big wins against Dillian Whyte, which was the homecoming. He's had, you know, another win on British soil against Derek Chisora, but I think he's kind of, at times he feels a bit lost without the Deontay Wilder sort of opponent silhouette in front of him to sort of bark at times.
Yeah, and also I think sometimes we talk a lot when somebody loses about what a defeat can take away from someone, but what people don't generally talk about is a win can take a lot away from you. It can take a chunk away from you. Telly Atlas always says, doesn't he? And he's not the only one. That every time you go into that ring, you leave it less than you were than you went in. You leave something in there. It's just a question of how much. And Fury was put down twice by Wilder in that fight, and it was a really, really hard fight. And, you know, I don't know if you can ever really... You have the ability to go there and do whatever it takes to win, but is that enjoyable? Do you feel like, oh God, yeah, I can't wait to do that again? As fans, we kind of feel like you are, but you're humans. I mean, you don't want that every time you go in there, surely.
No, I mean, you don't want to have to go to the well too often, but it makes for a great memories for him. It really does, doesn't it? So I think tremendous rivalry. It's the rivalry of the era, because they managed to fight each other. You know, everyone's always complaining that, you know, Joshua and Fury didn't fight, and before then Joshua and Wilder haven't fought. Don't think it's Joshua's fault, but them two did get to fight. They had 3 fights, and you know, they're always going to have that on their record. Always going to have their memories. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, let's talk a bit of AJ Wilder then, because we feel like we are going to see it. January, people have been talking about for a while. The odd bit of kind of obfuscation around it in recent weeks, but I kind of feel like it's still going to happen. And what's really interesting is that Wilder had that experience against Fury, came back and was seemingly no different. You know, which is impressive. and he's knocked out Helenius as well since that fight with Fury. Whereas with Anthony, what we talk about is always he's hesitant, he's a little bit gun shy these days. He doesn't really want to roll the dice, pull the trigger, go all in the way that you have to at that top end, and not just at heavyweight, at any weight. You did that. You know, you signed that kind of Assassin's Creed, if you like, where it's you or me. It's you or me, and I'm fine with it. It's not going to be me, by the way, but it's you or me. We wonder whether AJ's got that in him anymore. We know that Wilder does still. Watching Joshua in his last couple of fights, did you feel like we can make any judgment on that, really?
Well, he's made the changes in his camp, and so you're wondering, like, what's that going to look like? And he's had two performances now with Derek James. First was against Franklin, and didn't necessarily set the world alight. You know, it was solid performance. One against a guy, I think he might have been unbeaten at the time, Franklin, but couldn't get rid of him. And you know, it felt like a learning fight, really. Which not like a learning fight, like he's got to learn something. He's the former unified heavyweight champion of the world, but whatever he's working on in the gym with his new team, we didn't quite get to see it. Helenius comes in the second time round. It's supposed to be Dillian Whyte, and that obviously falls out of bed almost fight week. So there's these massive changes. He wants to fight, rightly so, and he does. And again, you know, I didn't see anything really that new, or at least maybe I was hoping for something a bit more. The finish was great. Set up with a bit of variety behind the jab. You know, jabs up, jabs down, the right hand lands, and Helenius is out. You know, out. It's a brilliant knockout. So, but I'm thinking he needs a tougher test, really, for us to see what adjustments has Anthony Joshua made. I mean, I think this is for a boxing fan to be tuning to a heavyweight fight. Joshua versus Wilder ticks every box. It might be the best that we can deliver because they'll both be desperate to win. They're both dangerous fighters. They're both vulnerable. They're both big guys. So it does tick every box. I think the reason why there's been talk of Joshua maybe going a different route this week is, but maybe Wilder wants one more fight. You know, he hasn't boxed since maybe over a year now.
Yeah, and that was a round.
And it was a round. So, you know, no doubt he wants a few more rounds banked before he goes into a Joshua fight. But the clock is ticking. You know, if they want this fight to take place in January, if Wilder's not fighting imminently, which he might be, I haven't checked the schedule. And if he is that a blocker? He's like, no, you can't have a warm-up fight as such. You've missed that boat. We need to sign now for Joshua v. Wilder. It has to happen next. And maybe they're both arguing about Wilder getting one more fight in before that mega fight takes
I think
place.
Wilder's been in storage for a bit because I saw him in Saudi at the end of February and we kind of felt like he was there to get that deal done, basically, and that would be the arrangement. Fury's coming up against Francis Ngannou, of course. That's in Saudi Arabia at the end of October. It is going to be boxing, but at the same time, it's going to be an amazing event. I've heard some details about what's going to be going on over there, but it's going to be a big event. Absolutely no question about that. So in terms of the heavyweight landscape as well, Frank Warren has lodged an appeal to declare Daniel Dubois' defeat against Alexander Usyk a no contest. We were out there with talkSPORT, of course, a couple of weeks ago to see that performance from Dubois. I thought he did himself a lot of credit, stepping up levels to get in with somebody against Usyk. But we all know what the talking point was that emerged from the fight, and it was the, in inverted commas, I shall put it, low blow